Hi, it's Asha here, and welcome in this voiceover video about finding a style. This lesson is part of Patreon release 53 and comes with much more content than just this, so make sure to check out all the files that are attached together. And if something looks too fast for you to follow here, I upload real-time videos too. As always, I'd like to thank all the patrons for supporting this creation, and if you missed any previous ones that you'd like to get, they're all available at my Gumroad page. And now I hope your pencils are ready, because we're about to start. So, where to start? I actually worked a few days on the content for this tutorial, but I'll try to keep it short and really stick to the subject, which is about style, and not really about analyzing how I did each of the 4 drawings for this tutorial. I do recommend for you to check the real-time videos if you're really interested in the process, how I approached each one of them. They're mixed in technique, they're mixed in materials that I used, and I tried to diversify the style too. And it's a good time to maybe talk about what is style. In my opinion, it's nothing else but the feature or different features or even mistakes that one person makes in their artwork repetitively. So it repeats in different artworks that makes them look slightly similar. Maybe it's a color palette, maybe it's a certain detail, maybe it's coloring style or materials used, and then even materials that the person uses. So if an artist is just traditional and just uses Copic markers, but the artworks are completely different one from another, it's also sort of a style of that person. It's just the material that unifies all their creations and all their artworks. It might be a theme that keeps repeating in that person's art, so either it's backgrounds or characters or maybe everyday scenes or anything. The style is something that makes a lot of artworks unified and into a collection. It is hard to explain in a sense, but the one key feature that I want to focus on here is that style cannot be depicted in one work. So if you're looking for a style, or if you're so fixated how to find your own style, it's not something you can do in one drawing. And if you're at the beginning of your journey and you're experimenting and you feel like all your artworks look different and you can't find your own style, then it is your style too. As long as you're creating artworks and they're yours, I'm sure that there's a feature that will make them unified, that will make them yours. It can be the line pressure, the style that you draw and put your lines on paper. Or maybe you already have favorite style of drawing eyes, like I do, and this can make the drawing similar one from another. And there is a lot that one can talk about here in style. But I want to focus on the journey, how to find style, how to get there, how not to get frustrated, how to know it's your style. And there is a reason why I'm showing in the background right now drawing that's exactly a copy of the character that I'm gonna analyze in this tutorial, which is Nessa from Pokemon. Very, very interesting character. I really like the design. And of course, I wouldn't want to post that this drawing that I made, that's exactly the copy of the original drawing that someone else did online as my own, because it's a copy. But for the purpose of this tutorial, even feeling bad doing it, I really wanted to draw and analyze this one first. It's important, and let me tell you why. I feel like many artists at the beginning of their careers, or even treating art as a hobby, are rushing through each of the steps too fast. And one of those steps is doing studies and practicing and analyzing things. I wouldn't know how to draw if I didn't copy, if I didn't observe how others draw, if I didn't know my tools well. So if I didn't use pencil for a long time and I knew I can achieve different pressures, different colors, different values with just one pencil, I just wouldn't know that. So there is certain amount of hours that needs to be invested in the drawing. There must be those few hundred ugly sketches that will just land in the bin before we make the one that we're happy with. And it is time consuming, and art is not something for people that are impatient or for people that want to rush through or see the results straight away. And I always stress it, I always remind in my tutorials how important it is to warm up, how important it is to practice every day, how important it is to have huge quantities of drawings, like quantity over quality for sketches, right? It's important to just have the habit of drawing, because it's physical work, it's hard, it takes hours, so your hand needs to be ready for this. And if you enjoy this, that's everything that you need. If that's pleasant for you, I'm sure you'll just wait impatiently for your break at work or for the evening when you can sit down with a sketchbook and just draw something. That's how I started, and at the beginning I completely didn't know what to draw or how to draw. I was impatient, I was quitting art so many times, but I kept coming back to it. I really loved drawing, and despite the frustrations that it was giving me, I always wanted to pursue it, and I'm really happy that I was stubborn enough to do it. So don't be ashamed if all you can do is just copy something that already exists. This is the beginning for everything. Analyzing, observing, and then trying to figure out what you like about the drawings or the things that you copy. These can be photographs, these can be, as you see, characters that already exist. This is much easier than coming up with your own design. So at the beginning, it can be much more rewarding when drawing, when just your goal is to copy what you see, and when the copy is looking really good and really close to what you were drawing, that's a huge success. That means you can move forward, and then maybe with the next drawing change one or few details, or maybe try to draw more of a figure than just the face, or try to improve or get faster. That's how it should be. That's how everybody starts. One can ask, but wait, where's the style in here? Why am I reminding all that? Why am I saying all that when the voiceover should be about finding a style? So here's the first example. You've been watching the process of me drawing the Nessa as an original character of someone else, as an exact copy of their drawing. So I reached the point when I was happy, when I drew the lines, I transferred them to the computer, so I took a picture and decided to color it on my iPad. I added the colors exactly as I saw in the reference. And then I decided to take it further. I changed some of it. So this is the first step that you can move forward in finding a style or finding your own style. What would you change about the character? So I thought the shadows were a bit too harsh, and that maybe I can add some slight highlights and brighten up the colors and add some blush on the cheeks of the character. And that's what I did. And it's already looking somewhat different than the original drawing that I was copying. And of course, you can take it further from this step. With every drawing that you do, just change one thing or add one thing. of course, there is this big issue of claiming this art as your own. There is this ethical and moral thing which you shouldn't do, is to claim this sketch as your own. It's your own practice. Yes, this is a step for you to move forward, to learn something, but it's a moral thing, right? I wouldn't claim this as my own drawing and something that I'm really proud of. I learned a lot in the process. I practiced my skill. I think I improved a bit. I figured out what I would change in the sketch, and this is what I learned. And that's it. I keep the drawing for myself. I don't post it online and say, oh, this is my character, this is my drawing, and please don't do that. I always tell artists to copy and that this is a good thing, but you see, within this good thing there is a small borderline that I would never encourage anybody to cross. And please be careful and never tell anybody that, hey, what Ladowska said, copying is fine, so that's what I'm doing. It's fine for your own purposes to hide it in the drawer, to learn, and then to move forward, okay? Well then, next, I'll change the background video so that it doesn't get too boring. So next, what happens if you completely refuse to study the art of someone else, but you want to find your own style? And this is an example I did based off a real human figure. So even though I was drawing from imagination, I was trying to apply as much of my knowledge of anatomy and of real physics. Like, I was trying to not make hair too unnatural or flying the way the real hair wouldn't. So this is like another end that you can start at when trying to find a style. It will be looking somewhat realistic, I'm sure, if what you decide to study and analyze is nature. It's a bit more difficult because of all the anatomy and all the proportions that are happening in nature. But of course, it's a good thing to learn. It's a good foundation for the drawing. It can be applied to all cartoon drawings, and later it's just a knowledge that nobody's gonna take away from you. It's something precious and very valuable for all artists, but not something that I recommend for the beginners to start from. Why? Because anatomy is very difficult and is very frustrating, and a beginner artist doesn't want to study hard. They just want to have fun doing drawings, right? And studying anatomy is rather hard work. It can be made fun, but it's rather hard work. And mistakes are not as forgivable as when drawing cartoon characters or as when you're copying some anime characters or some game or real characters designed by someone else. It's much easier to copy those than to copy from photograph with all the anatomy and perspective and all those rules that apply in real life. It's a good thing to study at like some other part of the artistic journey. But I know that many manga artists have already foundation in realistic drawing. I had it. That was the first style I was introduced to, and I went to the art school, and I used to copy photographs, used to draw a lot of portrait commissions from photographs, so realistic drawing is nothing new to me. I studied proportions, anatomy a lot, and even though I do lack a lot, I still lack a lot. I do know that this is like another starting point for many artists, that's how they started their art journey. So again, when applying some of those realistic features to my character, so as you can see, the face shape is much more believable. The eyes are much smaller than in cartoon drawings, because in real life they're rather small on the face. And the torso proportions Via's head are much more balanced and a lot different than in cartoon drawings, or even if we compare to the first one I did, there's a lot of differences. Even the character's breast physics is much different, okay? So why am I mentioning this and finding a style? This is also something to experiment with. When you're bored to death just being so accurate in proportions and drawing everything realistically, you can start to play with. So apply maybe some bigger eyes to the realistic face that you've drawn, or smaller mouth, or the nose up high, and mix proportions from manga characters to their realistic features to create something between semi-realistic character. And I know that by coloring the character, the colors are already bright and not really realistic, but I just like vibrant colors, and I think this is what is part of my style too. I just draw what I like, and if I like vibrant colors, that's what I'm gonna draw. And the same applies for you. If you like grays and rainy weather, this is gonna reflect in your art. And of course, if you just draw one drawing, one piece, that's not gonna be your style yet. But if you have this favorite color palette and you draw 10 drawings and put them all together, one next to another, they will look like part of a collection because they'll have this feature in common. So I'm repeating again. Style never happens within one drawing. It must be many drawings. When you check my feed on Instagram, one could say I have a style. I like to argue that I don't have a style, but there are certain artworks that look similar and have similar features, or even similar way of photographing them, that make them look like they have a style, or that they're characteristic in some sense. So this is as simple as that. When you draw a lot, you experiment, you figure out what you like the most. So when doing hundreds of drawings, I figured out I like vibrant colors, and that I like the eyes to be big, and that I like the eyes, female eyes, to have a lot of eyeliner and eyelashes. And this is what I draw the most often. And this is what is part of the style of my drawings, because it's something that repeats over and over again throughout different artworks. And here we already have 2 drawings done of the same character. They are different, but because they're done in a similar technique, so a traditional drawing with digital colors, and the colors are similar, they are already part of something. They have features in common. So you could say they have a similar style of coloring, not necessarily of the line and of what character looks like, but of similar style of coloring. What else can we do? Well, we can experiment with different media. So the next 2 drawings that I did are Copic marker drawings. And let me share with you my struggles. Next up, I tried to draw something in traditional media, and I actually didn't plan to draw twice, but I was kind of dissatisfied with the first drawing result, and then I tried again. I probably wouldn't, but then I was just sketching away and I happened to like the sketch, and then I moved forward with it. So there's the pencil sketch for the first drawing is recorded, but for the second one isn't, because I wasn't planning for it to happen. I was just doodling out of frustration, and I managed to create something that I wanted to move forward with, which I also regretted later. But let's one step at a time. So in the first Copic drawing, you can, I think, if you look on my Instagram page and look through my Copic artworks, I'm pretty sure you can say that, oh, this fits within the style of my drawings, because it has a lot of features that are similar. It's this dynamic pose with the closed composition that is closed by the hair and is drawn on exactly the same paper. There is a line around the drawing. There are similar colors, which is a really basic and simple coloring. So there is many features that are similar. And I'm sure that many can say that even the nose or the mouth, how I drew eyes, is sort of similar in other drawings too. And that's what is part of the style. It does not necessarily make everybody like my drawings, but I like the way they look. I like to draw this way. And by drawing different types, by imitating different styles, by experimenting, observing other artists, trying out their techniques, their styles even, I figured out what I like the most, what sizes of eyes I like the most in my drawings, how I like the noses to be lifted up in my drawings, how high I like to position them. So this is for you to figure out. I won't tell you how to draw or the drawing to be in your style or in any style. This is something that needs a bit of work and that needs a bit of experimenting. And if you're not patient, I can't tell you how to do it. There is no recipe how to find a style. And maybe you noticed this is not the title of this voiceover. It's not how to find a style, but it's about finding a style, which is a journey, and it's not a short journey. And throughout your lifetime, if you're an artist and if you're dedicated to it, you might find periods when you look back at your artwork and you feel like, oh wow, that's so completely different than what I do now. And the reason for that is that maybe you experiment, maybe you're constantly looking for something, for this something. And when maybe you draw the same all the time, but one day you decide to change one small detail, and then you like it so much, you move forward with this change. So each next drawing will include this change in it. So for example, maybe the size of the mouth. You always draw them big and juicy, but then one day, hey, maybe I'll just draw a straight line, a simple manga mouth, and hey, maybe that's what you like and that's what you move forward with. And that's like a turning point. It's a change. It does add to your journey of finding a style. So drawing a fan art in this example for this voiceover, I think was a good example because it's not my character. So there are certain limitations and certain features or characteristics that I had to stick with for the character to be recognizable, which is, for example, the general darker skin color or the hair color or the ornaments of the hair or maybe earrings, and definitely the brow shape. So that's not how I usually draw eyebrows, but I thought they're very recognizable, and in each one of my 4 drawings I draw the same shape of eyebrows. So that's why I think doing a fan art was very beneficial in this. I wasn't too free with how I draw my character. Well, not my character, but how I draw this thing, because there were certain limitations within color palette, within certain features, long hair, earrings, eyebrows, and the clothing. So this was already a good practice example when I have some sort of limitations but some sort of freedom where I can apply my own techniques, my favorite techniques, maybe try digital coloring, maybe try traditional coloring, and even different media. So that's how I drew the first Nessa Copic drawing. But as I said, I wasn't too pleased with the result. This paper wasn't handling dark colors too well, and I knew it, but I tried anyway. So the second approach, that came out of my bitterness and dissatisfaction, I tried on a different paper. And it began. The second marker drawing turned out to be even more difficult than the first one. And this was because I wasn't probably aware. I just had some scraps of paper and I wasn't sure what kind of paper is this. I can tell now it's definitely not my favorite paper. And I was just hoping it's gonna work for markers, but it didn't. So when making the layers of darker colors, it would suck a lot of marker and it would dry very fast, so the blending wasn't smooth. And when I was going back to make smoother blending, the marker would bleed horribly around all the lines and where I didn't want it to bleed on, and then it wouldn't blend, so all the brush strokes were visible. When I tried to add some more shades for the colors to blend together, they would separate on paper and create those separation lines. I was really frustrated, and for the entire coloring process I was thinking to myself, maybe I should give up, maybe let's just be happy with the previous drawing and not move forward with this one. But on the other hand, I really liked the line art that I did, I really liked the pose, and I thought that maybe I will manage to save it. So I did my best and I kept working hard on it. And there's a lesson for you too, that not always it will go how you want it to go. There is gonna be a lot of frustrations on your way, not only in finding a style, even in learning how to use your tools. Some are easier, some are more difficult, some give you more options and more freedom, and some are more limiting. So just don't give up and treat it as a learning experience, something to take a lesson from and to enjoy as a process, and not something to get you down and get you unmotivated and something to make you quit drawing. But I remember how it worked on me before. You see, even so many years into drawing, and those things still frustrate me, right? But I thought I'll try all the methods that I know for it to save the drawing rather than give up halfway through, because then I wouldn't learn anything. So trying to mix the colors didn't work, but well, I had to carry on with the method because that's how I started. It would be really bad if I suddenly changed to paints. No, that's not how it works. So I thought I'll just do base colors with Copic markers, and I worked as quick as I could. I was hoping that the line art that I usually do later in the drawing, not at the beginning, as you can see in the video, will somewhat save the drawing and make it look better. And I think it did, but not entirely, because the markers didn't blend well. So after I laid the bases and after I added the line art, I switched to colored pencils and tried to cover as much of the area that didn't blend well with the pencil crayons as I could, to smoothen it out, to make blends a bit more smooth and looking a bit more intentional. And do I think that this drawing added to my journey of finding a style? Yes, I think it did. It's different from a previous one, that's for sure. I did apply some elements that I really like in my drawings, which is this specific pose, portrait pose, to highlight the beautiful face of the character. I focused on the eyes in it the most and tried to get the shape exactly as I like it, and as I like drawing it. But then I experimented with the color that I've never worked before. So this is something new for me. This is something I tried, and as you can see, I found very difficult to work with. But I didn't give up, and I'm very happy about it. I'm not sure if I'll try it again in the nearest future, just because it was a very difficult experience. But for sure, that's something I've learned, and I'll repeat again. You see that there's been many years of me drawing, and there's still something I can learn with each one of them, and something new that I can discover, or something different that I can experiment. I think that in this drawing, I drew the neck much thinner than I would normally do, and I like it this way. I really, really enjoyed this process, and I cut the hands not really how I would cut the drawing, the drawing in general, because it's impossible for the elbow to hide behind the hair so that the elbow is not visible. It should stick out from the hair, right? Anatomy wise. But I decided to just crop it the way it was, and it was sort of an experiment from my side, and I liked it. I liked the final result, and I'm pretty happy with it despite the struggle I encountered. So there are two things you can take away from this one. Not only to never give up, but also to keep experimenting, to push through, to before you give up and throw away something you don't like, try to make the best out of it, try to learn the most out of it, and try to force the learning out of it. When something's not working, perfect, make it work. And if it doesn't, then what? Nothing happened, the world didn't end. There's always the next drawing you can try to make work the way you want. And on your journey to finding a style, or your style, or any style, I wish you to have fun and a lot of experimentation. And confidence, of course. I know artists that are not after looking for their own style. They are very inspired by somebody else's style, like a studio, maybe Disney or maybe some anime studio, and their goal is to draw characters that will look like they came out of that studio, because maybe they're aiming to work for them in the future, and this is how they're building their portfolio. So finding a style does not have to be your style. If you're after your style, experiment as much as you can. Try to find stuff you like, and for your portfolio to look as part of one, try to repeat some of the elements. Try to draw a few characters in the same style, but just different characters, to see if you really like this style. And then maybe try to draw one character in different styles to figure out what you like the most for this character. So there's many ways of experimenting and practicing, but the most important thing is to draw and to remember that nobody's gonna put the work in for you. That it doesn't matter how many times you listen to this voiceover, if you haven't done a single drawing, you will still be a level 1 artist without a single drawing. We progress by doing and by practicing, not just by watching and listening to others. So make sure to get that sketchbook out and keep drawing. Good luck, and until next time.